Hello everybody, this is Roger from Roger's Reviews, and I just wanted to explain what I think is going to happen in the next 5, 6, 7 years. And you might think I'm crazy, but I've been watching a lot of videos and been watching it for quite a few years. I think this is what's going to happen, and I think it's going to happen a little bit faster than what people predicted because the way technology is speeding up. In the next year or two, the cost of EVs are dropping very drastically. Before it was EVs were for the powertrain, they were a little bit more expensive than ICE cars, and it was supposed to take another year or two before this to happen. And what they thought was going to happen in 2 years is basically battery technology and the drivetrain was going to get cheaper, and then eventually it would be cheaper to buy a electric car 2 or 3, 4 years in the future than an electric car than an ICE car. But it's already happened. It's 1 to 2 years before ahead of time. So now, from I guess instead of 4 years, it's going to be like next year. Might take a little bit longer, but I think next year, or within a couple months, the cost of EVs is going to be lower than an ICE car equivalent. So if you go buy a car, you're actually going to get more for your money. If you buy an EV, you're not going to have to wait to save money. Like, EVs are cheap in the long run, no matter what, but now they're cheaper from the get-go. So everybody's going to start buying electric cars. The more electric cars that are bought, the cheaper it's going to get. Supply and demand. And then also too, basically just by making more EVs you make, you mass market them. It's it's just cheaper when you make more of them. There's more demand. Autonomy is going to take over faster than we think. Elon Musk is always sandbagging, so he's telling us one thing, and then a couple months later you found out that it was already made. So the autonomy is going to be actually happening faster than we think. It's supposed to be 2 to 4 years out. I think it's going to be less than that. A lot of people think it's 6 or 7 or 8 years. I think it's going to be in the next year, maybe 2 years at the most. I think it's already here. It's just going to take a while for the law to pass so people can basically start driving autonomously. Once we start driving autonomously and we switch over to EVs, there's going to be a lot less people on the road because the cars right now, we only use our regular cars like 5 to 10% of the time. And if you have a electric car, that's a EV, it's going to be able to drive non-stop like 90% of the time. So if you have one car that's driving 90% of the time, it's going to take the place of all those other cars that are sitting. And EVs basically have lower maintenance cost, and they don't need to be basically repaired, oil changes, stuff like that. So like one car is going to replace 10 cars, and there's going to be a lot less people wanting cars because you're going to be able to basically rent a car or use a car or be in some type of program where instead of having make a car payment, make insurance payment, and have all the upkeep of a car, you're just going to be on a network. It's going to be like Uber or Lyft, or it's going to be like a rideshare service. It's going to be 10 times cheaper. And a lot of the younger kids today don't even own cars anyway, so it's going to be easy for them to transition over. So there's going to be 10 times less cars on the road are needed to basically move people around. So when fewer cars are moving people around, also too, there's going to be less cars parked. So you're going to have 10 times less parking areas needed. So basically all these parking lots that we have now are going to be obsolete. You're not going to need them because cars are just going to be moving around, taking people around. The only time they'll stop is to charge, and then they'll be back running around again, and they're going to need less maintenance. And so you won't have all these people that own cars. It's very expensive to own a car and just let it sit there. People would rather pay 10 times less and just share a car. So basically, to put this in perspective, if in California, if you took away all the parking lots, you could build another San Diego. So all these parking lots are either going to turn into like parks or usable space. And if there's all this usable space, if you think about all these, like if you go downtown and these huge buildings, they have huge parking lots. So you could build a building right next to them because you're not going to need the parking. So it's going to be really cheap for real estate because there's going to be so much real estate that is available, but you're not going to need it, you know, because there's no need to build twice as many buildings if you think about it. So we can use that for parks and recreation. Travel is going to become 10 times cheaper. And also we're not going to need, at the beginning, like in the next couple years, mechanics are going to be a lot more prevalent, and it's going to be a boost. It's going to be a false sense of stability because there's going to be a lot of new electric cars being built, and there's not going to be a lot of ICE cars being built. So you're going to have a bunch of old ICE cars that need a lot of maintenance and repair, and they're going to be breaking down all the time. So for the next 5 to 8 years, you're going to have all these mechanic shops opening up because there's just going to be a massive demand for ICE car repairs. And then people are going to find out that it's cheaper just to give away their ICE car or get rid of it or scrap it and then use a ride share or buy an EV. So you're going to have a huge spike in mechanics, and then it's going to drop off. And then there's not going to be any need for mechanics anymore. So you're going to have all these huge mechanic shops go under in the next 5 years. But you can make money for 5 years and then get out. So sell off. There's not going to be much need for gas stations. So all these gas stations are going to be basically convenience stores. So all the gas pumps and everything will be pulled up. They'll be losing money on the gas pumps because it's going to take up real estate, and it's going to be too expensive to have these pumps that hardly ever are being used. So they're going to tear them out, and they're going to use that space for something else. Mechanic shops, I already went over. There's not going to be, it's 10 times less maintenance. So basically and then there's not going to be any oil change places or Jiffy Lubes anymore. Only thing you'll need to do on electric cars is basically charge them up. So there'll be charging stations here and there, and there'll be places to change tires, and then windshield wiper blades, windshield washer fluid, and detailing and stuff like that. There'll be little shops like that, and they'll mostly be like convenience stores. Like maybe you go and get a massage, or you go eat, and then they clean your car, rotate your tires, detail your car, maybe put windshield wiper blades on, fill it with windshield washer fluid. But other than that, there won't even be many of those because a lot of these people won't even have cars, and they'll just use a ride share, and they'll just hit a button on their phone, and it'll be 10 times cheaper to use a ride share than own their own vehicle. So that's going to even be a thing of the past. Another thing, since travel is going to become cheaper, there'll be more people traveling, and since you don't have a car payment, no insurance payment, you're just going to be able to travel more because you'll have more disposable income to go out to eat, to do things. So it's going to be better for the economy because other services will be needed. So the standard of living will get raised because if you don't spend, the average person spends over $10,000 a year on car payments, insurance, and upkeep. That $10,000 can be spent elsewhere and be used to go out to eat and entertainment. Next thing's going to happen is air travel. So there's going to be a squeeze on the airlines because now that there's new battery density, they're going to be able to create very small electric airplanes and airplane taxis. So you're going to be able to do all your short hops within, I'd say, maybe 100, 150, 200 miles. You can jump in a little Airbus, like a little drone, and it'll take you anywhere for 100, 200 miles. So all the short routes are going to be ate up with the small, like drone planes or planes that can go like under 200 or 300 miles. And then the bigger hops are going to be taken over by SpaceX. They have rockets that can shoot up in the air and can take you thousands of miles within a half an hour. So the airlines are going to get crushed from either side. They're not going to have the short hops, and they're not going to have the long passenger flights as well, because they can do it much faster and cheaper through rockets, and then the smaller side they're going to do much faster and cheaper through small EV electric planes. So basically all they're going to have is this short little window, and the airlines can't make it as it is. So basically that little window they have is not going to be enough to support the airline business, so they're going to go bankrupt. Something else is going to have to fill in that niche. And then it's cheaper too for EVs to travel, so you can fall asleep in the car and the EV can take you. So a lot of people would rather take the car because it's going to be safer because it's autonomous. So they're going to lose a lot of smaller travel too, and large travel, long distance travel, because it's cheaper to get in an EV, fall asleep, and wake up at your destination, and it's going to be like safer too. So the airline industry, most of it's going to go out of business unless they find another way, unless they start buying other forms of transportation to stay in business. So basically, this is what's going to happen in the next few years. A lot of people don't realize it, but just this battery technology and battery density and autonomy, the combination of all these things is going to destroy a lot of old businesses, but it's going to create new businesses. So anyway, if you like this video, please crush the like button, and please subscribe, because we're going to be bringing you a lot of new stuff on what's going to happen in the future. And this is just my idea. I've been watching a lot of stuff on YouTube, and I agree with this. If you agree or disagree, please leave a comment on the bottom and we can discuss it further. Have a great day.